The alarm screamed through the monitoring station at 3 in the morning. Captain Taeyang jumped from his chair, coffee spilling across his desk. He had been on duty for 16 hours watching the empty darkness of space, and now something was wrong. "What is it?" he shouted across the room. Nari, his communications officer, was already working at her console. Her fingers moved fast across the controls. "Sir, we have a signal. It's encrypted. Quantum level. I've never seen anything like this." Taeyang ran to her station. On the screen, waves of data pulsed in strange patterns. This wasn't normal space traffic. "This was something urgent. Where is it coming from?" he asked. "Andromeda sector, sir. Deep space. It's a distress call." Taeyang felt his stomach tighten. The Andromeda sector was far away, beyond the normal trade routes. Very few ships went there. "Can you break the encryption?" Nari worked for 10 minutes while Taeyang watched. Slowly, the signal became clear. Then words appeared on the screen, translated into human language by their computers. "To any who can hear this message, we are the Velthron Collective. Our worlds are burning. The Chromath Dominion has attacked us without warning. They have taken our homeworld. They are hunting our people through space. We have nowhere to go. We send this message to all nearby civilizations. We need help, please, we are dying." The message repeated again and again. Taeyang read it 3 times. The Velthrons. He knew them. Earth had been trading with them for 20 years. They were peaceful people, scientists and artists. They had shared their technology freely with humanity. They had been friends. "Send this up the chain," Taeyang said quietly. "Wake up, everyone. The Admiral needs to see this now." Within an hour, Admiral Hyun arrived at the monitoring station. He was a tall man with gray hair and hard eyes. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion 15 years ago. He knew what war looked like. He read the message without speaking. Then he turned to Taeyang. "How long ago was this sent?" "Based on the signal delay, about 2 weeks ago, sir." 2 weeks. Admiral Hyun closed his eyes. "They might already be dead." "Sir, we have to try," Nari said. She was young, only 25, but her voice was strong. "They helped us when we were new to space. They taught us how to build better ships. They never asked for anything in return." Admiral Hyun nodded slowly. "I know. Contact the Council." Emergency session. "We meet in 2 hours." The Earth Defense Coalition Council met in Geneva. It was early morning there too, but the chamber filled quickly. Representatives from every major nation sat around the long table. On the walls, screens showed the Velthron distress call playing over and over. Admiral Hyun stood at the front of the room. Next to him was Commander Ji-won, his tactical officer. She had prepared a full briefing. "Ladies and gentlemen," Admiral Hyun began, "we face a decision. The Velthron Collective, our allies and friends, are under attack by the Chromath Dominion. Based on our intelligence, the Chromath are a military empire. They have conquered 15 species in the last century. They take prisoners as slaves. They destroy any civilization that resists them." Minji, Earth's senior representative, stood up. She was a small woman with fierce eyes. "How large is their military force?" Commander Ji-won activated a hologram. Ships appeared in the air above the table. "The Chromath have approximately 800 warships. Their technology is advanced. Energy shields, plasma weapons, faster than light engines. On paper, they are stronger than Earth's entire fleet." The room filled with worried whispers. "But," Commander Ji-won continued, "they have weaknesses. Their ships are designed for fighting other energy-based militaries. They expect long-range battles with shields and beam weapons. That's not how humans fight." "Explain," said another representative. Commander Ji-won smiled. It was not a nice smile. "The Chromath come from low-gravity worlds. Their crews can't handle more than 3 Gs of acceleration. Their soldiers are fragile compared to us, and they have never fought an enemy from a death world." "A death world," Minji repeated. "You mean Earth?" "Yes, ma'am. To most alien species, Earth is a nightmare planet. High gravity. Extreme weather. Dangerous predators everywhere. Humans evolved in conditions that would kill most intelligent species. That gives us advantages. We're stronger. We're faster. We can take more damage, and we're more aggressive in combat." Admiral Hyun stepped forward. "But I won't lie to you. This will be a real war. We will lose ships. We will lose people. The question is simple. Do we help our friends or do we stay safe at home?" The debate lasted an hour. Some representatives argued that Earth should not risk its people for aliens. Others said that humanity had a duty to help those in need. Some worried about the cost. Others worried about what would happen if Earth did nothing. Finally, Minji stood again. Admiral Hyun, if we do this, if we go to war with the Chromath, can we win? Admiral Hyun looked her in the eye. Yes, but it will be bloody. Then I vote we go. The Velthrons helped us when we were weak. Now they need us. If we abandon them, we're not worthy of reaching the stars. The vote was close, but it passed. Earth would go to war. Admiral Hyun immediately began preparing the fleet. He called in every available warship: cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and support vessels. The largest force humanity had ever assembled. General Daeho arrived at the staging area within 12 hours. He commanded the Marine Corps, Earth's ground fighting force. He was a hard man, scarred from old battles, but he trained his soldiers well. How many troops do you need? He asked Admiral Hyun. All of them. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. We're not just going to rescue some refugees. We're going to destroy the Chromath's ability to make war. That means landing on planets. That means taking their bases. That means fighting in places where ships can't go. General Daeho nodded. My people are ready. Captain Soman took command of the dreadnought Iron Will. It was Earth's most powerful warship, covered in armor and bristling with weapons. Railguns that could fire metal slugs at a fraction of light speed, missile pods loaded with nuclear warheads, and new experimental weapons that the Chromath had never seen before. Squadron leader Hanbin gathered his fighter pilots. They were young, most of them, but they had trained for years. Human pilots could handle more G-forces than any other species. Their reflexes were faster, and they flew with an aggression that shocked aliens who watched them train. Across Earth, the news spread quickly. Humanity was going to war. Some people protested. Some people celebrated. But everyone understood what it meant. Earth was no longer a small, isolated world. They were becoming something new: protectors, warriors, a force in the galaxy. 48 hours after the distress call arrived, the Terran Armada launched from Earth orbit. 120 warships, 50,000 Marines, 300 fighter craft, and supplies for a long campaign. Admiral Hyun stood on the bridge of his flagship. Through the windows, he could see Earth falling away behind them. It looked so small and blue and peaceful from up here. He wondered how many of his people would see it again. All ships report ready, sir, Commander Ji-won said. Set course for the Andromeda sector. Maximum speed. Yes, sir. The fleet jumped to faster than light travel. Space twisted around them. Earth vanished. Ahead, somewhere in the darkness, the Velthrons were dying, and the Chromath Dominion was about to learn what happened when you threatened humanity's friends. The Deathworlders were coming, and they were bringing war. The journey took 5 days at maximum faster than light speed. 5 days of checking weapons, running drills, and preparing for battle. The crew of every ship knew this was different from training exercises. This was real. People would die. On the 5th day, the fleet dropped back into normal space at the coordinates from the distress call. What they found made even the hardest soldiers feel sick. The Veltron refugee fleet floated in the darkness ahead. Captain Taeyang counted the ships from his bridge. 300 vessels, maybe more. But these were not warships. These were civilian transports, cargo haulers, family ships. Many of them were damaged. Some leaked air into space. Others drifted without power. Life signs? Admiral Hyun asked. Scanning now, sir, said the sensor officer. I'm reading approximately 2 million Velthrons spread across those ships. But sir, their life support systems are failing. Some ships have days left. Some have hours. Admiral Hyun didn't hesitate. All ships begin rescue operations immediately. Medical teams to your shuttles. General Daeho, get your Marines over there. Some of those ships might have injured we need to evacuate. The human fleet moved into action. Shuttles launched by the hundreds. Medical Officer Yuna led her team to the nearest Veltron ship. She was a doctor, trained in human medicine, but she had studied alien biology too. She hoped it would be enough. The airlock opened and Yuna stepped into the Veltron vessel. The smell hit her first: blood, fear, death. The corridor was crowded with refugees. They looked at her with huge eyes. The Velthrons were tall and thin with pale skin and 4 arms. They seemed so fragile. We're here to help, Yuna said through her translator. Please, show us your wounded. An old Veltron stepped forward. His name was difficult to pronounce, so Yuna just called him Elder. You came, he whispered. We sent the message, but we thought no one would answer. The Terrans. You really came? Of course we came. You're our friends. The Elder looked like he might cry. Friends, yes, but you don't understand. We know what Earth is. We know what you are. Deathworlders. From a planet of violence and pain. We never thought beings like you would help beings like us. Yuna didn't know what to say to that. Instead, she got to work. Her team moved through the ship, treating the wounded. Broken bones. Radiation poisoning from damaged engines. Starvation. The Velthrons had been running for 2 weeks with limited supplies. As she worked, Yuna learned what had happened. The Chromath Dominion had attacked without warning. Their warships appeared in orbit around the Velthron homeworld and demanded surrender. When the Velthrons refused, the bombardment began. Cities burned. Millions died in the first day. The survivors escaped on whatever ships they could find. They ran blindly into deep space, the Chromath hunting them. Every few days, enemy ships would catch up and destroy more refugee vessels. The Velthrons were dying slowly, ship by ship. How many escaped? Yuna asked the Elder. Perhaps 3 million. Out of a population of 8 billion. Yuna felt anger rise in her chest. 8 billion people. An entire civilization. Almost completely destroyed. For what? The Chromath wanted slaves? Resources? Or did they just enjoy killing? Across the fleet, other humans were having similar experiences. Sergeant Bora led her Marines onto a damaged transport. They found families huddled in the dark, children crying, parents trying to stay calm. The Marines carried supplies. Food, water, medical kits, power cells for failing life support systems. One Velthron child looked up at Bora. The little alien was maybe 6 years old in human terms. She touched Bora's armor with one small hand. Are you going to fight the bad ones? The child asked. Bora knelt down. She was a warrior, trained to kill, but right now she felt only sadness. Yes, little one. We're going to fight them. Good. They took my father. Please hurt them. Bora promised she would. The rescue operations continued for 10 hours. Human ships towed damaged Velthron vessels. Engineers worked to repair failing systems. Doctors treated thousands of wounded. And slowly, the refugee fleet stabilized. Captain Taeyang was overseeing the operations from his cruiser when his sensor officer shouted a warning. Sir, multiple contacts dropping out of FTL. Distance, 5 million kilometers and closing fast. Taeyang's blood went cold. How many? 15 ships, sir. Configuration matches Chromath warships from the database. The Chromath had found them. The hunters had caught up to their prey. Admiral Hyun's voice came over the fleet channel. All combat ships formed defensive formation around the refugee fleet. Launch fighters. Charge weapons. Captain Taeyang, you're closest. Engage and delay. We need time to finish evacuations. Understood, sir. Taeyang looked at his crew. They were afraid. He could see it in their eyes. This was their first real battle. All hands battle stations. This is not a drill. Nari, send a message to those Chromath ships. Tell them to turn around or we will destroy them. Nari sent the message. The response came back quickly in harsh clicking language that the computers translated. Primitive Terrans, you dare interfere with Chromath Dominion business? Surrender the prey species or be destroyed. Taeyang smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Weapons lock targets. Fire when ready. His cruiser opened fire. Railguns launched solid metal slugs at incredible speed. Missiles with nuclear warheads streaked through space. The Chromath ships, expecting energy weapons, were not ready for kinetic attacks. The first slug hit a Chromath destroyer and punched straight through its shields. The shields were designed to stop energy beams, not solid matter traveling at 50 kilometers per second. The destroyer exploded in a ball of fire. The Chromath fleet scattered in confusion. They had never fought an enemy like this. Their sensors tracked incoming missiles and tried to shoot them down. But there were too many. More human ships joined the battle. Captain Simeon's dreadnought Iron Will fired its main guns. The sound vibrated through the hull. Massive slugs crossed the distance in seconds. Squadron leader Hanbin led his fighters into the chaos. The small craft dodged and weaved through enemy fire. Chromath ships tried to hit them with plasma beams, but the human pilots pulled maneuvers that no alien could survive. 7Gs, 9Gs, 12Gs of acceleration. The pilots screamed against the pressure, but they kept flying. The Chromath commander couldn't believe what he was seeing. These humans flew like madmen. They attacked without fear. Their weapons were primitive but devastatingly effective, and they absorbed damage that should have destroyed them. A Chromath cruiser rammed one of Hanbin's fighters with a plasma beam. The fighter's wing caught fire, but instead of ejecting, The pilot aimed his dying craft at the enemy ship and accelerated. The fighter smashed into the Chromath cruiser's bridge at full speed. Both exploded together. The battle lasted 30 minutes. When it ended, 12 Chromath ships were destroyed or disabled. 3 had escaped. The human fleet had lost 2 destroyers and 7 fighters. 43 people dead, 127 wounded. Admiral Huen ordered a damaged Chromath ship captured. Marines boarded it carefully, weapons ready. Sergeant Bora led the boarding team. They moved through the alien ship, finding dead and dying Chromath warriors. The aliens were tall, covered in scales, with multiple eyes. They looked dangerous, but they had lost. In the ship's cargo hold, the Marines found something that made them all stop. Cages. Prison cells. And inside them, Velthron prisoners. They were thin, starved, covered in injuries. Some had been tortured. Others had been used for medical experiments. Bora felt rage like she had never known. She carefully opened the cells and helped the prisoners out. One Velthron woman grabbed her arm. "Thank you," the woman whispered. "They were taking us back to their worlds. They said we would be slaves. They said our children would serve them forever." Bora helped the woman to a medical shuttle. Then she went back to the bridge of her ship and requested a direct line to Admiral Huen. "Sir," she said, her voice shaking with anger, "you need to see what we found." The Admiral reviewed the footage from the cargo hold. When he finished, his face was hard as stone. He opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All personnel, this is Admiral Huen. You've all been briefed on our mission. We came here to rescue the Velthrons and protect them from further attack. But I'm changing our orders. We're not just going to protect them. We're going to destroy the Chromath Dominion's ability to ever do this again. We're going to burn their shipyards. We're going to free their slaves. And we're going to make sure they never forget what happens when they hurt our friends." Across the fleet, humans cheered. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. This was war, and humanity was very good at war. The Chromath Dominion had made a terrible mistake. They had drawn the attention of Earth. And Earth, that violent death world spinning through space, had sent its warriors. The galaxy was about to learn a hard lesson. Never threaten humanity's friends. The human fleet established a forward base in the asteroid field near the refugee ships. It would be their staging point for the war ahead. Engineers worked around the clock building defenses. Gun platforms, sensor arrays, repair facilities. This was no longer just a rescue mission. This was preparation for a long campaign. General Deho walked through the Marine barracks on the converted cargo hauler. His soldiers were checking their equipment, cleaning weapons, preparing for ground combat. But he also saw something else. Velthron volunteers, hundreds of them. They were trying to learn how to hold human weapons with their forearms. "General," said a young Velthron named Kess, "please, teach us to fight. We want to help. We want to take back our world." Deho looked at the fragile alien. The Velthrons were not built for war. They came from a light-gravity world with no predators. They had never needed to learn violence, but he saw determination in Kess's eyes. "It won't be easy," Deho said. "Human combat training is brutal. We evolved on a death world. Our training reflects that. We know. But we must try. Better to die fighting than to live as slaves." Deho nodded slowly. "Then we'll teach you. But you follow our rules. You train hard. And you listen to your human sergeants," the Velthrons agreed. Over the next few days, they learned what human military training meant. Running drills in high gravity, weapons practice until their arms ached, combat simulations that pushed them to their limits. Many quit, but some stayed, and those who stayed grew stronger. Meanwhile, Engineer Junho worked with the Velthron ship designers. He was showing them human weapons technology. The Velthrons were shocked by what they saw. "These are kinetic weapons," one Velthron engineer said, looking at the railgun designs. "You throw metal at your enemies." "At very high speed," Junho explained. "Most alien shields are designed to stop energy beams. They're not efficient against solid matter. A tungsten slug traveling at 50 kilometers per second will go through shields like they're not even there." "But that's so primitive." Junho smiled. "Primitive but effective. We also have missiles, nuclear warheads, cyber warfare programs. Humans learned war on Earth where energy shields don't exist. We developed weapons for real combat, not civilized warfare." The Velthrons started modifying their ships with human weapons. It felt wrong to them, like betraying their peaceful nature. But their cities were ashes. Their people were slaves. Peace hadn't saved them. Maybe violence would. On his flagship, Admiral Hyun met with his senior officers. Commander Jiwon had prepared intelligence reports on the Chromath Dominion. The news was not encouraging. They have 3 core worlds, Jiwon explained, pointing at the holographic map. Crom Prime, their capital. Crom Secondary, where they build most of their warships. And Crom Tertiary, where they train their soldiers and process slaves. These worlds are heavily defended. Dozens of orbital platforms, planetary shields, fighter bases. We're looking at the strongest military infrastructure in this sector. What about their fleet? Asked Captain Soman. After the battle here, they know about us. Their propaganda calls humans the Deathworld barbarians. They're gathering their forces. Our intelligence suggests they're pulling ships from conquered systems to form a massive battle fleet. Maybe 500 warships, General Daeho whistled. That's a lot of ships. Yes, but they're making a mistake. They're gathering them all in one place, leaving their conquests lightly defended, and they're expecting us to fight defensively, protecting the Veltrans. They don't realize we're planning to attack. Admiral Hyun studied the map. What about their ground forces? Chromath soldiers are bred for war. They're larger than humans with natural armor plating, but they come from low-gravity worlds. On their home planets, they're dangerous. On higher-gravity worlds, they tire quickly, and they've never fought an enemy that enjoys close combat. Enjoys? Someone asked. Daeho grinned. It was a warrior's grin. Humans evolved as predators. We're pursuit hunters. We chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. We have more stamina than any other species, and we're naturally aggressive in hand-to-hand combat. Most aliens find close quarters fighting horrifying. We find it satisfying. The meeting continued for hours. They planned 3 simultaneous strikes, 1 at each of the Chromath core worlds. It was aggressive. It was dangerous. It was exactly the kind of plan humans excelled at. 2 weeks after the first battle, the Chromath sent their massive fleet to crush the human base. War Master Thexril commanded from his flagship. He was confident. The Terrans might have won a small skirmish, but this was real war. His 500 ships would overwhelm them completely. Captain Taeyang's sensor officer detected them coming. Sir, massive fleet inbound. I'm counting. 473 ships. They'll be in weapons range in 20 minutes. Across the human fleet, alarms sounded. This was it. The major battle they had been preparing for. Admiral Hyun stood on his bridge, calm despite the approaching doom. All ships execute Plan Delta. Captain Salmon, your dreadnought is the anchor. Hold the center line. Captain Taeyang, take the cruiser wing and hit their flank. Squadron Leader Hanbin, your fighters are free to hunt. Show them what human pilots can do. The fleets met in the darkness of space. The Chromath opened fire first. Plasma beams and particle weapons lanced through the void. The human shields absorbed most of it, but some shots got through. A human destroyer took a direct hit and exploded, killing all 147 crew. Then the humans returned fire. And the Chromath learned what real war looked like. Railgun slugs tore through their formations. Each slug punched through shields and armor like paper. Missiles swarmed their ships, guided by advanced targeting computers. Nuclear detonations lit up space like new stars, and the human ships moved with frightening speed, pulling turns that should have been impossible. Captain Soman's dreadnought Iron Will became the center of the battle. The massive ship absorbed incredible damage. Her armor glowed red from plasma impacts, but her guns never stopped firing. Each shot from her main railguns destroyed or crippled an enemy ship. Captain Taeyang led his cruiser wing in a flanking maneuver. They appeared behind the Chromath formation and unleashed hell. Their cyber warfare specialists hacked into Chromath targeting systems, causing friendly fire incidents. Their missiles found weak points in enemy shields, and when a Chromath ship tried to ram one of the cruisers, Taeyang simply accelerated harder. The human crew endured 8 Gs of force while the Chromath ship's crew passed out from the pressure. Squadron Leader Hanbin's fighters danced through the chaos. They were small and fast, impossible to track. The Chromath tried to hit them with point defense weapons, but human reflexes were too quick, and when a fighter's weapons locked onto an enemy ship, the results were devastating. Precision strikes on engines, missiles into weapon ports, calculated destruction, but the battle was not one-sided. Human ships died too. A cruiser's reactor overloaded, vaporizing the vessel. Fighters were caught by lucky shots and disappeared in flashes of light. Marines died when boarding parties were repelled. The humans were winning, but they were paying for it. War Master Thexril watched his fleet disintegrate with growing horror. Nothing in his training had prepared him for this. The humans fought with a ferocity that defied logic. They took damage that would make other species surrender and kept fighting. Their tactics were brutal and effective, and their weapons were perfectly designed to counter Chromath defenses. A human boarding party breached his flagship. Alarms rang throughout the ship as the Terran Marines fought their way through corridors. Thexril sent his best warriors to stop them. The Chromath soldiers were 7 feet tall, armored naturally with thick scales, trained since birth for combat. The humans killed them all. Sergeant Bora led the boarding party. She moved through the Chromath ship with her squad, weapons ready. When they encountered enemy soldiers, the fight was brief and brutal. The Chromath were strong, but the humans were faster. And the humans wore powered armor that multiplied their already considerable strength. One Chromath warrior tried to crush Bora with his bare hands. She ducked under his attack, drove her combat knife into a weak point in his scales, and broke his neck with her armored gauntlet. The whole fight took 3 seconds. Her squad reached the bridge. They didn't try to capture Thexril. They simply planted explosives and left. The War Master barely escaped before his own command center exploded. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the Chromath fleet was broken. Over 300 ships destroyed, many more damaged and retreating. The human fleet had lost 32 vessels, with another 50 damaged. It was a terrible price, but they had won. Admiral Hyun surveyed the aftermath from his bridge. Space was filled with debris and bodies, human and alien together. He felt the weight of command pressing on his shoulders. "Sir," Commander Jiwon said quietly, "we've intercepted Chromath communications. They're calling us demons, monsters from a hell world. Their propaganda is telling their people that humans can't be reasoned with, can't be stopped." "Good," Admiral Hyun said. "Let them be afraid. Fear will make them make mistakes." That night, Specialist Yoonji, a linguist and intelligence officer, was analyzing captured Chromath data. She had been working for days to break their military codes, and finally she found something important. The Terran Armada split into 3 battle groups. Each group had a specific target. Each group had enough firepower to destroy a small nation, and each group was led by officers who had proven themselves in combat. Commander Jiwon took command of Battle Group Alpha. Her target was Crom Prime, the capital world of the Chromath Dominion. It was the most heavily defended of the 3 core worlds, surrounded by orbital fortresses that had never been breached in 10,000 years of Chromath history. Jiwon studied the defenses and smiled. The fortresses had never been breached because no one had ever really tried. Captain Taeyang commanded Battle Group Beta. His mission was to strike at Crom Secondary, where the Chromath built their warships. Destroy the shipyards, and the Chromath could not rebuild their fleet. But Taeyang's intelligence reports showed something else at Crom Secondary. Cloning facilities. The Chromath grew their soldiers in artificial wombs, using genetic material stolen from conquered species. The facilities had to be destroyed. Squadron leader Hanbin led Battle Group Gamma. His target was Crom Tertiary, the training world where young Chromath warriors learned war. But the world also held the largest slave processing center in the Dominion, millions of prisoners from dozens of species waiting to be sold or experimented on. Hanbin's orders were clear: free them all. The 3 battle groups left the forward base at different times, taking different routes. The Chromath would not know where the humans were striking until it was too late. Battle Group Alpha arrived at Crom Prime first. Commander Jiwon's ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Ahead, the planet glowed with city lights. Around it, 12 massive orbital fortresses bristled with weapons. "All ships, begin the approach," Jiwon ordered. "Stay in formation. Let them see us coming." Her sensor officer looked worried. "Ma'am, they're definitely seeing us. Those fortresses are powering up weapons. We're being targeted by over 5,000 individual guns." "Good. That means the plan is working." What the Chromath didn't see was the asteroid. Humans had captured a large space rock weeks ago and attached engines to it. Now that asteroid, moving at incredible speed, entered the Crom Prime system from a different angle. By the time Chromath sensors detected it, it was too late. The asteroid smashed into the largest orbital fortress. The impact released energy equivalent to 1,000 nuclear bombs. The fortress disintegrated. Debris spread across orbit, damaging 2 other fortresses. Before the Chromath could recover, Jiwon's fleet attacked. Railguns fired from maximum range. Missiles swarmed through space, and cyber warfare specialists hacked into fortress control systems, creating chaos. The battle was fierce. The fortresses had powerful shields and devastating weapons. Several human ships took critical damage, but the humans had surprise and momentum. They pushed forward, accepting casualties, never slowing down. One fortress fired its main weapon, a beam that could crack a planet's crust. The shot hit a human destroyer. The ship vanished in a flash of light. But another human ship immediately took its place, firing continuously. Ji-won watched the battle from her command ship. She had trained for this her entire career. Space combat was about numbers and positioning and timing. The Chromath had more guns, but the humans had better tactics. All ships focus fire on Fortress 7. Concentrate everything we have. 40 ships turned their weapons on one fortress. Thousands of tons of metal slugs hammered the shields. Nuclear missiles detonated against the barrier. And slowly the shields began to fail. When the shields collapsed, the fortress lasted 10 more seconds. Then it exploded, debris raining down on the planet below. Across the planet's surface, Chromath civilians looked up at the battle in the sky. They had been told the Dominion was invincible. They had been told their military could not be defeated. Now they watched their orbital defenses burn. Meanwhile, Battle Group Beta reached Crom Secondary. Captain Taeyang had a different approach. Instead of attacking the orbital defenses directly, his ships went after the shipyards. The shipyards floated in orbit, massive construction facilities where Chromath warships were built. Each yard was the size of a city, filled with half-finished vessels and thousands of workers. Taeyang's orders were to destroy them completely. Medical Officer Yuna to bridge, came a voice over the communications. Go ahead, Doctor. Sir, those shipyards have civilian workers. Families live on those stations. If we destroy them, we'll kill thousands of non-combatants. Taeyang closed his eyes. This was the hardest part of war, making choices that haunted you forever. Doctor, I understand your concern, but those shipyards will build the ships that kill more Velthrons, more humans, more innocents. Transmit a warning. Give them 10 minutes to evacuate. Then we fire. Yuna sent the message. Some workers fled to escape pods. Others, loyal to the Dominion or simply unable to believe the humans would really attack, stayed. 10 minutes passed. Taeyang gave the order. His ships opened fire. The shipyards exploded one by one. Massive structures that had taken decades to build, destroyed in minutes. The explosions were visible from the planet's surface, bright flashes in the night sky. But Taeyang wasn't finished. His intelligence specialist had hacked into Chromath computers and found the location of the cloning facilities. They were underground, deep beneath the planet's surface. Marines, prepare for drop. We're going down there. Sergeant Bora and her team loaded into drop pods. These were armored capsules designed to carry soldiers from orbit to ground through hostile fire. It was a brutal way to land, but it was fast. The pods launched from the ships. They fell toward the planet like meteors, heating up as they hit the atmosphere. Chromath ground defenses fired at them. Some pods were destroyed, but most got through. Bora's pod hit the ground at terminal velocity. The impact would have killed an unarmored human, but in her powered armor she barely felt it. The pod's door exploded outward and she stepped into a Chromath city. Enemy soldiers were waiting. They opened fire with plasma weapons. Bora's squad returned fire with railguns and grenades. The battle moved through city streets. Chromath civilians fled in terror. They had never seen combat on their home world. The Dominion had always fought its wars far from home. Bora's squad fought their way to the cloning facility entrance. It was guarded by elite Chromath warriors. These were not the normal soldiers. These were the champions, the best fighters the species could produce. The fight was brutal. The Chromath champions were skilled and deadly, but the human Marines had better armor, better training, and the desperation of people fighting far from home. Every Marine knew they might die here, but they also knew their mission mattered. Bora personally killed 3 champions. Her combat knife found weak points in their scales. Her armor gave her the strength to crush bone, and when her weapons ran out of ammunition, she fought hand-to-hand, using techniques taught to her by General Deho himself. The Marines breached the facility. Inside, they found the cloning chambers. Thousands of artificial wombs growing Chromath soldiers. But they also found something worse. Genetic material stolen from conquered species. The Chromath were creating hybrid warriors, mixing DNA from different races to build the perfect killers. Burn it, Bora ordered. Burn it all. Her demolitions expert planted charges throughout the facility. Then the Marines fought their way back to the surface. Behind them, the explosions began. The cloning facility collapsed, taking with it the Chromath's ability to quickly rebuild their army. At Crom Tertiary, Squadron Leader Hanbin faced a different challenge. The planet was not heavily defended militarily, but it held millions of slaves. His mission was to free them without getting them killed. His battle group entered orbit and immediately broadcast a message on all frequencies. Attention prisoners of the Chromath Dominion. This is the Terran fleet. We are here to free you. Rebel, fight your captors. Help is coming. On the planet's surface, the message caused chaos. Slaves from a dozen species rose up against their masters. The Chromath guards tried to stop the rebellion, but they were outnumbered. And when human Marines landed to support the uprising, the guards were quickly overwhelmed. Hanbin's pilots flew air support for the ground forces. Their fighters screamed through the atmosphere, destroying Chromath military bases and supply depots. When enemy fighters tried to intercept them, Hanbin's pilots showed why human aerospace combat was feared across the galaxy. One Chromath pilot managed to get behind Hanbin's fighter. The alien thought he had won, but Hanbin pulled a maneuver called a falling leaf, where the fighter seemed to fall out of the sky while rotating. The Chromath pilot, confused, flew past. Hanbin reversed his engines, got behind the enemy, and fired. The battle on Crom Tertiary lasted 6 hours. When it ended, over 2 million slaves had been freed. The Chromath training facilities were destroyed, and the liberated prisoners were being loaded onto human transport ships. One freed slave, a Veltron woman, approached Hanbin. "Why did you come for us? We are not your people." Hanbin looked at her. He was young, only 27, but his eyes were old. He had seen too much war, because when someone needs help, you help them. That's what it means to be human. Back at Crom Prime, Commander Jiwan's battle continued. The orbital fortresses were falling one by one. But now Chromath reinforcements were arriving. Ships from nearby systems. The 3 battle groups reunited at the forward base. The ships were damaged and scarred. The crews were exhausted. But they had succeeded in their missions. The Chromath Dominion was crippled but not destroyed. Now came the final phase of the war. Admiral Hyun called a meeting of his senior staff. War Master Thexril was brought in as a prisoner. The alien looked defeated, his scales dull, his multiple eyes downcast. He had been the supreme military commander of an empire, and now he was a captive on a human ship. "War Master," Admiral Hyun said, "we need to talk." Thexril looked up. "You will destroy my people. You Deathworlders cannot be satisfied until everything burns. No, we could have burned your cities from orbit. We could have killed billions. We didn't. We only attacked military targets. We're not here to commit genocide. We're here to stop you from enslaving others. Then what do you want? Surrender. Order your remaining forces to stand down. Let us occupy your core worlds peacefully. Accept terms. Or we continue the war until your empire is nothing but dust." Thexril laughed bitterly. "You think the Grand Archon will surrender? He would rather see every Chromath die than submit to aliens. He rules from the throne world, protected by defenses that have never been breached. You cannot reach him." Admiral Hyun leaned forward. "War Master, we've destroyed your shipyards. We've freed your slaves. We've captured you. Your people thought you were invincible, and we proved them wrong. The Grand Archon will surrender, or his throne world will fall like everything else." Thexril was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke quietly. "You don't understand what you're facing. The throne world has shields that can stop any weapon, fortresses built into the planet itself, underground bunkers that go miles deep, and over 5 million soldiers defending it. Even Deathworlders cannot break such defenses. Then we'll do what humans do best. We'll adapt." The message was sent to the Chromath throne world. Admiral Hyun's terms were simple. Surrender, dismantle the Dominion. Free all remaining slaves. Submit to galactic oversight. In return, the Chromath people would be allowed to survive and govern themselves peacefully. The Grand Archon's response was defiant. He called humans barbarians and monsters. He said the Chromath would never bow to inferior species. He promised that any human who landed on the throne world would die screaming. "Well," said General Deho when he heard the message, "I guess we're doing this the hard way." The entire Terran Armada moved toward the throne world. It took 3 days to reach it. When they arrived, they found exactly what Thexril had described, a planet covered in defensive installations. shields that could withstand sustained bombardment, and a fleet of over 100 remaining Chromath warships in orbit. Admiral Hyun did not attack immediately. Instead, he had engineer Junho deploy a new weapon: kinetic bombardment platforms. These were satellites loaded with dense metal rods. When dropped from orbit, these rods would hit the planet's surface with the force of nuclear weapons but without radiation. The platforms spread across the orbital space around the throne world. The Chromath tried to destroy them, but they were too small and too numerous. Within hours, hundreds of platforms were in position. Grand Archon, Admiral Hyun broadcast, "This is your final warning. Surrender now or we begin bombardment. Your shields can stop energy weapons. They cannot stop kinetic strikes. We will drop rods on every military installation on your planet until you have nothing left but ruins." The Grand Archon's response was to order his fleet to attack. The battle for the throne world began. Captain Soman's dreadnought Iron Will had been repaired and upgraded. Now it stood at the center of the human formation, absorbing enemy fire while its guns carved through Chromath ships. The vessel had become a legend. Chromath called it the Iron Demon, and feared it more than any other human weapon. Captain Taiyang led a squadron of cruisers in hit-and-run attacks. His ships would appear, fire their weapons, and disappear behind cover before the enemy could respond. His communication officer, Nari, had become expert at coordinating these strikes, timing them perfectly to maximize damage. Squadron leader Hanbin's fighters hunted Chromath ships like wolves hunting prey. They worked in packs, isolating enemy vessels and tearing them apart. The Chromath pilots were skilled, but human reflexes and aggression gave Hanbin's people an edge they couldn't overcome. The orbital battle lasted 8 hours. When it ended, the Chromath fleet was destroyed. Now nothing protected the planet from the human armada. Admiral Hyun ordered the kinetic bombardment to begin. The platforms released their metal rods. They fell through the atmosphere, glowing white-hot from friction. When they hit, the impacts were devastating. Military bases disappeared in explosions of dirt and fire. Fortress walls cracked and crumbled. Underground bunkers collapsed, but the Grand Archon still refused to surrender. So Admiral Hyun ordered the ground invasion. General Daeho led 100,000 Marines to the planet's surface. They landed in drop pods and heavy shuttles, spreading across the throne world's main continent. The Chromath had 5 million soldiers waiting for them. It should have been a slaughter of the humans, but the Chromath made a critical mistake. They tried to fight the humans the way they fought other species. Long-range engagements, positional warfare, defensive strategies. That might have worked against normal enemies. Humans were not normal. Lieutenant Minho's unit landed in a Chromath city. They immediately went on the offensive, pushing deep into enemy territory. The Chromath tried to set up defensive lines, but the humans just went around them, or through them, or under them. The Chromath had never fought an enemy that enjoyed close combat. When human Marines closed with Chromath soldiers, the battles became brutal. Powered armor gave humans incredible strength. Their training made them efficient killers, and their willingness to take risks shocked the defenders. One Chromath general watched video of human Marines assaulting a fortified position. The humans didn't take cover. They didn't retreat under fire. They ran straight at the enemy, firing their weapons, throwing grenades, closing the distance to fight hand-to-hand. It was madness. It was terrifying. It was effective. Sergeant Bora's squad was assigned to find and capture the Grand Archon. Intelligence suggested he was hiding in an underground command bunker, miles beneath the planet's surface. Getting to him would require fighting through the most heavily defended position on the planet. Bora accepted the mission without hesitation. Her squad had fought through every battle of the war. They had lost friends. They had seen things that would haunt them forever, but they were still standing, still fighting. They inserted at night using stealth technology to avoid detection. Then they fought their way down. Level by level, corridor by corridor, the Chromath threw their best soldiers at them. Elite guards who had trained their entire lives for combat. The guards died. All of them. Bora's squad reached the command bunker after 6 hours of continuous fighting. They were wounded, exhausted, running low on ammunition, but they kept going. The bunker door was massive, designed to withstand anything. Their demolitions expert placed shaped charges. The explosion blew the door off its hinges. The squad rushed in, weapons ready. The Grand Archon was there, surrounded by his final guards. He was enormous, even for a Chromath. Covered in ceremonial armor, holding an ancient energy weapon, he looked at the humans with hatred. "Deathworlders," he spat. "Barbarians from a hell planet. You have no right to judge us. We built an empire that lasted 10,000 years. What have you built?" Bora removed her helmet so he could see her face. She was bleeding from a dozen wounds. Her armor was scorched and dented, but her eyes were hard. "We built a civilization that helps others instead of enslaving them. That makes us better than you." The guards attacked. The fight was the most brutal of the war. The Grand Archon's guards were the best warriors the Chromath had ever produced. But Bora's squad had fought across the galaxy. They had learned that victory didn't go to the strongest or the fastest. It went to those who refused to quit. When the fight ended, all the guards were dead. The Grand Archon stood alone, his weapon damaged, his armor broken. He looked at Bora and finally understood. The Chromath had lost not because humans had better weapons or more ships. They had lost because humans simply would not stop. "I surrender," he said quietly. The war was over. The occupation of the throne world took months. Commander Jiwan oversaw the dismantling of military installations. Engineer Junho helped rebuild civilian infrastructure. Medical Officer Yuna established hospitals to treat wounded Chromath civilians. The humans could have been conquerors. Instead, they chose to be liberators. Across the former Dominion, 17 slave worlds were freed. Millions of prisoners returned to their homes. The Velthrons began rebuilding their civilization with human help. Species that had suffered under Chromath rule finally knew peace. On the restored Veltron homeworld, a great ceremony was held. A monument was erected to honor the humans who had died in the war. 12,000 names carved in stone. The inscription read, "They came from a world of death to bring us life." Admiral Hyun attended the ceremony. He stood before the monument and thought about the people he had sent to die. Young soldiers, brave pilots, determined Marines. They had followed his orders. They had trusted him, and many of them never came home. A Velthran elder approached him.